Hey y'all, I hope your summer's going good and you're staying cool and you're into a lot of good projects. I appreciate all the fine comments that you've made about the cabin and the work and the videos. Would like to make more for you, but a lot of things are going on right now that have prevented me from doing that. My dad had a heart attack back in June, and been going back and forth to his place to help out and visit with him as much as I can, and just my own responsibilities around here. I've got the cabin stained, and I think you can probably see in the window I've got an AC unit in there that we run off the generator a little bit to knock the humid and the heat out before bedtime. I had some friends come up and stay for a few days here a week or two ago from Tennessee, and I think they enjoyed themselves. But I'm into making checkerboard tabletops. I've made a couple of pieces of furniture for the cabin, and everybody that sees them wants to know, man, that's a lot of work gluing every little piece together. And I said, well, that's way too much work for me. There's a secret to that, and I thought maybe we would make a checkerboard together and you could try one for yourself. But this one I made out of walnut and cherry, and then it's got some maple, spalted maple around the border, and then I made a little walnut cherry trim to go around it to kind of just give it that extra pop. Really looks good if you do epoxy over those. It makes those checkers come out really, as long as they line up and are perfect, it'll look great. Here's a little Bible box I made 8 or 10 years ago with a checkerboard on it. I've got some few others I can show you. Another mixture is walnut and basswood or maple. That looks really good for a dark and light contrast. But let's head on out to the wood shop and I'll show you how to get started on your own checkerboard. Okay, welcome to my humble wood shop, which is a 48-foot semi-trailer. First of all, you want to determine what size checkerboard square you want. Today we're working with 1 3/4. That'll give you roughly a 14-inch square when you're done. You'll need 4 dark and 4 light pieces of wood. These are long because we're actually doing 2 checkerboards at once just to save a little bit of time on the gluing and clamping. But I'll glue one together and then I'll come back in 45 minutes and add another and add another. And I've done 2 halves, or lately I've been doing all but one, and that's 12 inches. I can run that through the planer to clean it up along with this one, and then I will glue it. And that's step 1. Next is to go over to my miter saw, or whatever you want to use your cross cut, or if you've got some kind of sled for your table saw, that works fine too, but you want to get a good square cut from one side through it. And then you will run through those opposite and have another 1 3/4. And in between this process and this process, I leave my table saw fence set because I don't want to risk being off just a little bit, because this saw is running pretty true and these squares will match up really nice. But once you've ran through again, then you take every other one and flip them. Well, messing up here. And after you do that, you can see that you've got your checkerboard. And then I'll start gluing, and I'll just do 2 at a time. Make sure I get them lined up real good and clamped, and then after 45 minutes minimum, I'll come back and add one more. I don't recommend trying to get in a hurry and glue multiples because they'll want to slide all over. Here, I've glued half of them at one time, and as long as you can keep them from bowing by flipping your clamps or whatever, you'll be okay. But I don't mess with planing until it's set up for 24 hours, at least 12 hours. The saw, it can be done after a few hours. I just use Titebond original glue, but we'll come back after these are done and I'll show you some of the trim options that I've done around the edges to whatever size I needed, whether it was square or oblong. Sometimes I'll do a miter and sometimes I'll just do butt joints. But I hope this was interesting to you. Thanks for watching. Morning guys, been working hard here. I've got to finish these 2, which is a cherry border. I'm thinking about trying epoxy again. And here's one with red oak wrapped around the checkerboard and a red oak base. And basically the same thing with walnut base. Now this one, if you notice, is a little bit different. These were just leftover pieces I had from a couple of different ones. So it's got some basswood as well as cherry and walnut. I kind of like it after it's finished. I didn't know how well that was going to look. One of the miter joints on it didn't quite turn out as good as I like, and same way on this one with the bass wrapped around, which is probably my least favorite. And then this was just something I messed around with and glued together. Had this short piece of walnut that had some really pretty grain to it. But This was a bed frame that I rescued out of an old barn. I don't know how old it is, but I thought I can put that to use. And so I just cut the legs out and then got the length I needed and cleaned them up and put a coat of poly on them. So these are just a couple ideas you can have to mess around with some checkerboards if you want to. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.